Good morning. Well, you come with me to study Leviticus. And Leviticus is, by common consent, for Christians, a difficult book in the Bible. So I'm, I'm going to try and give you some sort of pointers as to how to read it. Because I think, despite its difficulties, it is one of the most important and interesting books in the Bible. So, it's all about holiness. Its, its root idea is, what does it mean to be holy? And behind the notion of holiness in the Bible is the notion of things or people being set apart for God. God himself, of course, is the most holy thing, the most extraordinary being in the entire universe. Holy, holy, holy. And that is why Leviticus has got to be about sacrifice. Because sacrifice is, as it were, a pointer about what it means to take ordinary things and set them apart for God. So in these first two chapters of Leviticus, in chapter 1, valuable things, are taken and set apart in the most radical way, that they're put beyond any human use. And these are things that people wanted to use. Animals, which would give milk, meat, and hide, and these would be taken and offered up to God, set apart for him and to him. And these sacrifices in the first chapter of Leviticus are perhaps the most radical setting apart, because throughout the ancient world people sacrificed, and mostly the meat was shared among the priests and the worshippers, as indeed there are some other sacrifices in Leviticus which do just this. But these first sacrifices are not like that. They're set apart, killed, butchered, put on the altar, which obviously is a bit yucky to us, but bear with me, and then burned. They're offered up. So they're put beyond any human use. They rise up. The Hebrew word for these sorts of sacrifices is that they are an olah, something that goes up to God. And these are costly things. A rich man would give cattle, a bull. A middling sort of farmer would give a goat or a sheep. A poor man or a woman would give a pigeon, just what they could afford. You see, the point is, it's not the value of the sacrifice that's important, but what it says about the readiness to offer something. They're all equally valuable to God, because what God is looking at is not the value of the sacrifice, but the attitude behind the worshipper. So, the second chapter deals with grain offerings, which are once again interesting, because these are once again set aside from ordinary use by the people who bring them. The flour that they would have turned into bread for their own use is partly burnt up, offered to God, and then the other part is given to the priests for their upkeep. So it's set apart from the normal use of the family for the priests. And interestingly here, of course, the flour is worked in some way. It's either ground into flour or crushed, and oil is added to it. So what is being offered is the flour, the grain which God gives us, and also the work of our hands. So I'm going to stop there and just leave you those thoughts. Leviticus is about holiness, and it's about setting things apart for God in a radical way. How this works out in our own life, how we set apart things for God in ways which look wasteful and not used by us. Well, that's the great value of this book. How can it help us to set our lives apart for God? Waste to the world, but the way it changes our heart when we do it.